Imagine this. You're going about your day just like any other. Maybe you're grabbing a coffee, hitting the gym, or just scrolling through your phone. Suddenly the unthinkable happens. Sirens blare. News alerts flash across your screen. The world is on the brink of nuclear war. It sounds like something out of a movie, right? Something that could never actually happen. But here's the thing, it could. And it might be closer than you think. What's even more unsettling is that the United States isn't just preparing for one nuclear threat, but potentially three. Three major powers are flexing their nuclear muscles on the world stage. This isn't some conspiracy theory, folks. This is the reality we're facing. This isn't about fear-mongering, it's about facing the facts. We're living in a time of unprecedented geopolitical tension, and the stakes have never been higher. The question isn't whether we should be worried, but what we're going to do about it. The United States, the world's oldest democracy, is gearing up for a potential nuclear conflict unlike any it has ever faced. Think about that for a second. This isn't the Cold War, with its familiar standoff between two superpowers. This is a whole new ballgame with multiple players, each with their own agendas and arsenals. We're talking about massive military exercises, upgraded defense systems, and a whole lot of nervous chatter in the halls of power. The government isn't being shy about it either. They're openly talking about the threat, about the need to be prepared for the worst-case scenario. But here's the twist. While the threat from countries like Russia and China is real and dangerous, the reasons behind America's ramped-up preparations go deeper. We're not just talking about traditional military threats anymore. This is about something more complex, something that's changing the very rules of the game. We're talking about a new kind of warfare, one that's fought not just with bombs and missiles, but with information, with economics, and with alliances that could reshape the world order. And trust me, folks, it's about to get very interesting. For decades, the world lived under the shadow of the Cold War, a tense standoff between the United States and the Soviet Union. But in the 21st century, the geopolitical landscape has shifted dramatically. We're now witnessing the rise of a new axis of power, a trio of nations challenging the established world order. Russia, under the leadership of Vladimir Putin, is asserting itself on the global stage, flexing its military muscle and seeking to reclaim its former glory. China, with its rapidly growing economy and military might, is emerging as a superpower, challenging American dominance in the Asia-Pacific region and beyond. And then there's North Korea, the unpredictable wildcard led by Kim Jong-un, who seems determined to prove his country's nuclear capabilities to the world. These three nations, each with their own ambitions and grievances, have found common cause in their opposition to the United States and its allies. They're actively cooperating on military exercises, sharing technology, and coordinating their foreign policy to undermine American influence. This new axis of power represents a formidable challenge to the United States and its allies, a challenge that requires a new way of thinking about global security. Let's break down these players. First up, Russia, led by Putin, a former KGB agent. They're all about reclaiming their past superpower status. They've got a massive nuclear arsenal, and they're not afraid to show it off. Next up, China, the economic powerhouse of the world. They're building islands in the South China Sea, claiming them as their own. Finally, North Korea, the wild card. Kim Jong-un has nukes and isn't afraid to test them. These three countries are a dangerous mix, challenging the US and willing to work together. This is the big leagues, and the stakes are incredibly high. Here's where things get really interesting. While the threat of a traditional nuclear attack is very real, the real game changer is the rise of unconventional warfare. We're talking about cyberattacks that can cripple infrastructure, disinformation campaigns that sow chaos and division, and economic warfare that can destabilize entire nations. Russia is a master of this. They've interfered in elections, hacked into government systems, and spread propaganda like it's going out of style. China's no slouch either, using its economic clout to bully smaller nations and steal intellectual property. And North Korea, with its army of hackers, has been linked to some of the most brazen cyber attacks in recent years. This new kind of warfare is insidious because it's often difficult to attribute and even harder to defend against. It's a constant game of cat and mouse, with nations trying to stay one step ahead of their adversaries. And the scary part is, it's only going to get more sophisticated and more dangerous in the years to come. This isn't your grandfather's Cold War, folks. This is a whole new ball game, and the rules are being written as we speak. Beyond nuclear weapons, a new arms race? The world is witnessing a new kind of arms race, one that extends far beyond the realm of nuclear weapons. While the threat of nuclear annihilation remains a terrifying possibility, the battleground has expanded to include cyberspace, artificial intelligence, and even outer space. Countries are pouring billions, if not trillions of dollars into developing cutting-edge technologies with the potential to shift the balance of power. Think hypersonic missiles that can evade traditional defenses, autonomous drones capable of carrying out deadly strikes, and cyber weapons that can cripple critical infrastructure with the push of a button. This new arms race is fueled by a toxic mix of paranoia, ambition, and the relentless pace of technological innovation. Each nation fears falling behind its rivals, leading to a dangerous cycle of escalation. The problem is, this race to the top has no finish line. It's a constant struggle for an edge, a never-ending quest for the ultimate weapon. And the scariest part, we have no idea what the consequences of this new arms race will be. But one thing's for sure, the stakes have never been higher. The alliances that could reshape the world. In this increasingly volatile world, alliances are shifting like sand in the desert. Old partnerships are being tested, new ones are being forged, and the lines between friend and foe are becoming increasingly blurred. The United States, for so long the undisputed leader of the free world, is finding itself having to adapt to this new reality. Traditional alliances like NATO are being re-evaluated, with some members questioning the United States' commitment to their security. At the same time, the US is strengthening ties with countries like Japan, India, and Australia, forming a strategic counterweight to China's growing influence in the Asia-Pacific region. These new alliances are not just about military cooperation, they're about economic integration, intelligence sharing, and a shared vision for a rules-based international order. They represent a recognition that no single nation can go it alone in this increasingly complex and interconnected world. The question is, will these new alliances be strong enough to deter aggression and maintain global stability? Or will they simply exacerbate existing tensions and lead to a more fragmented and dangerous world? The price of preparation, a nation on edge. Preparing for a potential three-front nuclear conflict isn't just about building bigger bombs and better missiles. It comes with a hefty price tag, both financially and socially. The United States is already facing a mountain of debt, and the cost of maintaining its military superiority is only going to increase in the years to come. This means tough choices will need to be made about government spending, potentially diverting resources away from crucial programs like education, healthcare, and infrastructure. And as the threat of conflict looms larger, it's easy for fear and paranoia to take root, eroding civil liberties and undermining democratic values. The constant drumbeat of war can also lead to a militarization of society, where violence is seen as an acceptable solution to complex problems. This can manifest in increased police brutality, a more aggressive foreign policy, and a general erosion of empathy and compassion. In short, preparing for war can have a corrosive effect on the very fabric of a nation, even if the bombs never actually fall. It's a delicate balancing act, trying to ensure national security without sacrificing the values that make a nation worth defending in the first place. Can we avert disaster? So the big question is, can we actually prevent this three-front nuclear nightmare from becoming a reality? It's a daunting question, no doubt, but I'm a firm believer that we're not just passive passengers on this crazy ride. We can make choices, individually and collectively, that can steer us away from the abyss. Diplomacy has got to be our number one priority. We need leaders who are willing to sit down with their adversaries, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's unpopular. We need to understand their motivations, their fears, and find common ground wherever we can. We also need to be smarter about how we handle these global challenges. Climate change, pandemics, resource scarcity, these are all threats that require international cooperation, not competition. When we work together, we can achieve incredible things. But when we allow ourselves to be divided, we all lose. It's a tough road ahead, no doubt, but I'm an optimist at heart. I believe that we can choose a different path, a path that leads to a more peaceful and sustainable future. But it's going to take all of us working together to make it happen.